Jason Whitlock, Caleb Williams. Oh, what do you know? Jason Whitlock is back in the news again. Now it's about criticizing Caleb Williams instead of Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Jason Whitlock blasting Caleb Williams for crying on the football field after USC lost their third game this season. Although Caleb Williams has been phenomenal as a quarterback in college football, his recent behavior has certainly raised questions about his mental toughness. Remember, Caleb Williams also won part ownership of the team he was drafted to as well. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Should there be red flags about Caleb Williams? Absolutely. I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is going to be the biggest bust in NFL history, but what I am saying about Caleb Williams is that he lacks leadership ability. Jason Whitlock was absolutely right. Now, I know that Jason Whitlock, he goes on massive hate speech about Deion Sanders and that sometimes he can be pretty irrational, while other times he might be spot on with his analysis. But in this case, I think that Jason Whitlock is speaking some truth about Caleb Williams. This man is talking about how Caleb Williams is undraftable. Now, look, do I think that tweet was extreme? Absolutely. Caleb Williams is a phenomenal talent, and he is a very good quarterback in general. There are throws that Caleb Williams can make that nobody else on the planet can make. That's how good Caleb Williams is physically. However, I'm not questioning about his physical ability. I know he can play physically. However, my questions about Caleb Williams is whether or not he's going to be tough enough mentally speaking to last in the NFL. This man has not shown amazing leadership ability. This guy has not necessarily shown up against top 25 ranked defenses, and it's also that despite the fact that Caleb Williams has been a great player, he's never been in the college football playoff. He's never even won a conference title in college football. And I understand that football is a team game and that his defenses at USC were horrible and that Lincoln Riley was not helping him out whatsoever. But what I am going to say with Caleb Williams is, if you're the greatest quarterback that have ever lived in the planet of college football, then you got to at least lead your team to a Pac-12 title or at least a college football playoff appearance. Because the fact of the matter is, if you didn't do those things, then how good are you exactly? I know Caleb Williams can play. I know he can make that throw. I know he can make that play. I know that he can scramble. I know he can run fast. I know he can throw deep. I know he's accurate. I know a lot of things about Caleb Williams. I get that. I see the physical talent. His physical talent is undeniable. Nobody is denying his ability to play. I'll even say as this about Caleb Williams. This guy plays like Patrick Mahomes at times. That's how good Caleb Williams is. However, my issue with Caleb Williams, like I said, is leadership ability. How tough is he really? I mean, to be captured crying on camera after the game, I mean, is that really acceptable? And I understand that, hey, it's tough losing games. It's tough being able to lose 3 games when you've been balling out all of your college career. But to do that on national television in front of everybody else, I can't buy into that, because that tells me that this guy is a mama's boy. And look, I got no problem with people being mama's boys in general. Heck, I'm one myself from time to time, or at least I was when I was a kid. But the fact of the matter is, you can't be a mama's boy in public. When you're on the football field, this is a men's game, and Caleb Williams has got to understand that better. He's got to be there with his teammates. He's got to be able to be a leader. He's got to be able to come up to his teammates and say, hey, it's okay, man. There's always going to be a next time, or keep your head up. You gave it your all. You gave it your effort. Hey, we're all in this together. But this Caleb Williams guy seems to be far more interested in building his brand rather than being a good teammate. I don't think Caleb Williams is a good teammate at all. I don't think he's a leader whatsoever. This guy doesn't show proper behavior after he loses, and this guy seems to be more focused on brand building rather than winning football games. I know that he's been winning for USC, but shoot, a lot of quarterbacks look good in Lincoln Riley's offense. That doesn't mean anything to me, because look at Baker Mayfield, look at Kyler Murray, and look at Jalen Hurts. Out of those 3 guys that came out of the Lincoln Riley system, only Jalen Hurts is the good quarterback in the system. Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield have turned out to be underachievers at the NFL level. It's not exactly like Caleb Williams is necessarily the greatest quarterback prospect on planet Earth, okay? There were guys like Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence that were better than Caleb Williams. That's the reality of the situation that Caleb Williams is facing, and there are some red flags that I do want to talk about with Caleb Williams. I want to shout out Caleb Williams' dad. His name is Carl Williams. He decided to make comments earlier this year about teams that draft high in the draft. He said this quote that kind of alarmed me. So according to Fox Sports, the quote says, the funky thing about the NFL draft process is he'd almost be better off not being drafted than being drafted first. The system is completely backwards. The way the system is constructed, you go to the worst possible situation, the worst possible team, the worst organization in the league, because of their desire for parity, gets the first pick. So it's the gift and the curse. And I have a problem with that quote because of the mentality right there. Look, if you're a great player, you'll be willing to be going to any team whatsoever. You'll be willing to be a competitor and be able to elevate bad franchises. If you're really that great of a player, you're going to go ahead and go to any franchise and be able to elevate them. Look at Trevor Lawrence for an example. When he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were a dump for many years when he first joined the team. Heck, they were still a dump in his rookie year. They had Urban Meyer coaching that year. Urban Meyer is the worst coach of all time at the NFL level. But now they're a good football team because Trevor Lawrence has now elevated himself into being one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. And it also helps that Doug Peterson is there as well. Doug Peterson is a good head coach. That's why he's there in Jacksonville. He's turned the ship around there as well. And then you also look at Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. When Joe Burrow first joined the Bengals were a wasteland. But the Bengals have now turned around their franchise, and the big reason for that is because Joe Burrow has been able to elevate them big time. Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He is one of the best quarterbacks in there. If you're Caleb Williams and you're this generational talent, you have to come out with that mindset. You can't be coming out with the mindset of, oh, woe is me, let me go ahead and play the victim card, because if I play the victim card, all these people are going to feel sorry for me, and I can play the, oh, if only Caleb Williams joined the good football team. I don't want Caleb Williams to have that mentality whatsoever. And I don't want his family members to have that mentality, because I think that mentality is screwed. I think it's flawed, and I don't think it's a good way for good quarterbacks to develop, quite frankly, because I think that if you're a good quarterback, you believe that you can elevate any franchise at any given time. And I get that there are teams that are just horrible organizations and that there's nothing you can do to fix them. But at the end of the day, if you're a competitor, a true competitor that is, you'll be able to elevate your supporting cast and the organization. Look at Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. Now, Caleb Williams has also said this. He wants to have partial ownership in whichever team selects him in the 2024 NFL Draft. Before anybody gives that any legs, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's not going to happen. No NFL team in their right mind is going to give Caleb Williams partial ownership. If Patrick Mahomes can't get partial ownership for the Kansas City Chiefs, then Caleb Williams definitely can. Who is Caleb Williams to think that he can go ahead and just be a partial owner? Huh? Who do you think you are, man? You can't be a part-time owner. You can't be a guy that has minority owner stakes when you're a player. You haven't even done anything at the NFL level. So this quote came from Clutch Points. That's where the source was from. So it says, quote, on Tuesday night, Bro Bible's Dov Kleeman resurfaced a July report from PFT's Mike Florio that claimed, quote, representatives of USC quarterback Caleb Williams had been making it known to prospective agents that Williams wants partial ownership of the team that selects him in 2024 if he declares for the draft. I'm telling you right now, if he says that, that's going to make people not want to take Caleb Williams, and you can make sure that the NFL is going to go ahead and blackball him. To be honest, if he said that to me as an owner, I'd say, sorry kid, you're a great football player, but you're not going to go ahead and get that from me. I'm sorry. If Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs isn't a part-time owner, then you can't be a part-time owner as well. These guys are asking for way too much power. What Caleb Williams right there reminding me of what those NBA players do. They just ask for power, power, power. Just give me a little bit and I'll go ahead and skip all these games. I'm going to bail on my basketball team. I'm going to go ahead and quit. And I know that this is football, so this is two completely different sports, but for Caleb Williams to go ahead and ask for that, no, that's not rational. That's not reasonable thinking whatsoever. And also, there's reportedly a short list of teams that he's willing to play for. So I've heard that Caleb Williams is only willing to play for the Cowboys, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, or 49ers as being the 5 teams. And if you're coming up with a list of teams you'd rather play for, that tells me that you are not strong mentally. Because if you're a competitor, you're going to go ahead and say, I'd be willing to play for any team. And I get it. These young quarterbacks, they have preferences for who they want to play for. Hell, if I was a draft prospect, I would have certain teams that I want to go ahead and play for. But for Caleb Williams to go ahead and release a list of who he'd rather play for out loud, that is problematic to me, because that tells me that he doesn't believe in himself and that he can elevate any given franchise at any given time. Now, something to also note is that Caleb Williams paints his fingernails. Now, get this, a grown man paints his fingernails. Who does that? Caleb Williams painting his fingernails. Absolutely ridiculous. That lacks professionalism on his part at best, and at worst, it just makes him look like an absolute clown. Why would you paint your fingernails on your hands? What's wrong with you, man? That's something that I expect women to do, not men. Come on, Caleb Williams, do better than that. I think Caleb Williams also had back-to-back losses against ranked Notre Dame and ranked Utah. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the statistics chart that you'll see on the screen. So this is what it says right here. So you guys can go ahead, read the stats for yourselves. But I think the stats speak for itself. You look at how Caleb Williams against top 25 ranked opponents on defense, how Caleb Williams struggles against that. And that's going to be problematic to me, because when the talent level is even out for Caleb Williams, that means that he is not elevating against the best teams in college football. And I get that there's supposed to be a drop-off against non-ranked opponents on defense, but it should not be that much of a drop-off. It should not be a 19% 10% difference in terms of completion percentage. It should not be a drastic difference in passing yards per game, and the TDINT ratio against top 25 ranked opponents on defense is not good whatsoever. That tells me that Caleb Williams is not rising up to the occasion when it matters most. And I get that Caleb Williams is on a USC team that doesn't play any defense whatsoever, but that stat right there shows you that Caleb Williams doesn't rise up to the occasion when it matters most. It also doesn't help that Caleb Williams has a 4-8 record all time when going up against ranked teams as well. When he's gone up against ranked teams, he's 4-8 in his career. That's not nearly good enough. That means that Caleb Williams doesn't rise up when it matters most. Now, there seems to be a sense of entitlement with Caleb Williams. I don't like the way that he's been acting, especially after the games that he is playing, especially after the Washington game that he played. There was a video that caught Caleb Williams crying after the game. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that video. Roll the film.
Caleb Williams jumping up and laying in the arms of family there.
Yeah. Tough night. Battle.
Sure did. He knows the reality of what a third loss means.
That's
But as brilliant as his 2 years will be in LA, it's not going to result in a Pac-12 championship.
Yeah. Played well, led his team, did all he could. Just came up a bit short. This is part of the game.
That video right there, that's crazy to me. I get that crying after a game, it's devastating and all that, and that you want to win all your games, but crying in your mother's arms, are you kidding me, Caleb Williams? Why are you doing this in front of the camera? This is just a bad look all around. This shows you that you're mentally weak and that you're not a great leader whatsoever. I get the devastation of losing a game. I get the devastation that this is going to be your last year at USC, but this is diva behavior right there. That is a matriarchy type of mentality right there, to go ahead and come to your mother and bawl your eyes out in her arms. You're a grown man, Caleb Williams. Do better than that. Show your emotions a little bit better. Don't do that. That is not smart behavior whatsoever on the part of Caleb Williams, which brings me to my final point about Caleb Williams. I don't think he's mentally tough. So I got this quote that I want to share with you guys. This is from the Blaze. This is from Jason Whitlock himself. So Jason Whitlock says, quote, Caleb Williams is soft. He's not a leader. He's another victim of the matriarchal culture embraced throughout modern society. He's been programmed to allow his emotions to dictate his behavior. That programming is at the foundation of the quick trigger resort to violence mentality pervasive throughout communities devoid of fathers. So that's the quote that Jason Whitlock said right there. I thought that Jason Whitlock was absolutely right with that quote. I think that Caleb Williams is allowing his emotions to take the best of his abilities out of him. He's got to think logically, not emotionally. And I get that losing a game is tough. And I get that the devastation of not winning a conference championship in your time in college football is not good whatsoever, despite the fact that you were great throughout your years in college football. But that right there, that just tells me that, hey, this guy's not mentally tough. This guy isn't consoling teammates. This guy isn't willing to talk to his coaches, his players, and instead he's just running up to the stands and finding his mom and just bawling in front of her face. I mean, luckily for Caleb Williams, his mother decided to cover up his face of him crying. That's probably a smart move, because if we saw it on camera in terms of his face, that'd be even worse on the part of Caleb Williams. I don't know, man. I think Caleb Williams, I think he is a great talent. I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback in the NFL because of the fact that he's not mentally tough enough to last in there, and that there just seems to be some things that seems to be off with Caleb Williams. He doesn't really strike to me as a great leader, and if you're not a great leader in the National Football League, then you're not going to last. It's really that simple. So that is why there should be red flags about Caleb Williams, as his mental toughness is not good enough at the moment. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.